Good evening, everybody. My name is David. I'm a targeted individual, and I'm here with Matt today. He's been targeted since 2010, and we're glad to have him brave enough to do an interview. He is going to keep names and stuff to a certain limit, to a degree knockdown, and for his safety and security. So, Matt, could you explain when your targeting started?
It started Memorial Day 2010. I didn't realize it until like the week after that, but I didn't really realize what a targeted individual was and the fact that I wasn't unique to the situation going on with me until this August of 2019. Up until August of 2019, I've had, I guess 2010 was an intro of the gang stalking, the covert, and which I didn't know 2 years later, and the overt surveillance being done upon me. It disappeared for, I could talk about it a little bit later, but it disappeared for a number of months and came back in 2012. Then it went cold for about 3.5 years, came back in 2016. Then it went cold again until 2019. And in 2019, it was clear to me that I had a running conspiracy being run upon me. And I didn't know if it was just me being ruled out or if there was anything special to my situation. And I'd done a deep dive on the internet and I realized that there was a term called targeted individuals. And a lot of the evidence that was being presented to me matched my past experiences. So,
Could you like explain what you experienced when you first started?
sure. When the targeting first began, there was overt surveillance in the form that I became popular almost over a weekend, Memorial Day weekend 2010, for what could be seen for a reason as like a college joke or prank being played upon me. But it got to the point where it made me uncomfortable. And I've seen it in the form of the community. I'm from Eastern Long Island and North Shore of Eastern Long Island. And after this Memorial Day weekend, I've noticed that everywhere I went, like the same rumor was being played out in the public about me, talking about me in ways that I wouldn't deem like totally wrong if it was just like a temporary joke. But it got to the point where it carried up until this very day today, this same old running joke. And that running joke has also been played against the public to think that it's kind of like okay to gang stalk me and it's okay to witness what they're doing. And meanwhile, in the back shadows, they kind of play like a good cop versus bad cop game on me. And that bad cop is where the real damage set in. And then when it comes to the good cop area, it's either the good cop would ignore me and the public would be gaslit to think that I'm violent and crazy and dangerous and need to be put away.
Right.
There's a theme going on in 2012, 2016. It was a game being played on me up until yesterday, I could say, But in recent years, the truth has been kind of been coming out in my favor. So that's the background of it.
Um, so let me see. Do you experience any microwave weapons attacks?
Yes, I do. To the point where I remember in late 2016, I saw the breaking news about Havana syndrome on a major network televisions being reported out of Havana, Cuba. And at that time, when I saw the episode, it was kind of like a cold period for me, where I may have been under surveillance, but I didn't know it. I wasn't getting hit with weapons. I wasn't getting majorly gang stalked in my employment at the time. But I've experienced my own directed energy microwave weapons that mimic the same effects as Havana syndrome. while I was overseas in El Salvador in March of 2022. I have experienced directed energy weapons in the form of let's see, I would say back in 2012, I've had directed energy attacks on parts of my body, including my head, genitalia area, knees and bodies, to the point where I felt that, like, basically it was kind of as if somebody had a pincushion on me, and if they pointed into specific areas of the body, I would get a pinprick, a shock in that area of the body, specific, like pointed, shoulder blades, appendages, particularly my fingertips. Um, and
Have they,
this continue as painful attacks from 2012 to 2016. 2022, I've had the microwave attacks on the head where I felt like I was getting like pressure put in my head, vertigo induced.
yeah,
It would go away to the point where I felt like even afterwards, I felt like I've had an ongoing concussion going on. And those attacks had followed me from El Salvador to Colombia that spring. I wrote the State Department in Bogota, Colombia, when I got there at the 48 hours, and then the attack stopped in Colombia. Those same similar attacks to, like, what I would call like the microwave pressure effect started up again in August of 22, kind of right outside where I'm staying right now, but it was in Midtown Manhattan. I'm staying in downtown right now. Um, in August of 22, I've had a brief occurrence of that up in Alaska in September of 22. I've had a reoccurrence of those microwave effects back last summer when I was working offshore in the Great Lakes early in the morning. That the worst microwave attack I've ever had in my life happened about 5 o'clock in the morning while I was on watch on an overnight shift in Duluth, Minnesota.
yeah. Have you ever, like,
It's
what
in,
they've been doing to me lately is they're making me like they heat my head up sometimes where I have to move from the spot I'm in. That's how hard it's kind of like if you I was reading the other day about the active denial system and how they can shoot a ray in your head and heat you up so hot you have to move out of the way.
right,
They do that to me sometimes, but what I've been feeling lately is that's like my brain is like in jello, like there's nothing there, and it's like they're doing surgery on it remotely with some kind of laser. It's weird and it hurts real bad, and it leaves me, like you said, with vertigo. Um, it's just they've been switching it up, and I want to say this real quick before we even start. Uh, and getting into it, everybody's targeting is different, and no two people will experience the same thing most of the time. Although Robert Duncan said that when I asked him, when I told him about the vibrations I was getting, like I'm getting right now, my vibrations all down my legs and my feet and up in my stomach. He said most of the targets he talked to experienced that. So I guess a lot of people do experience vibrations, but uh, yeah, nobody's targeting is the same, and everybody's targeting is different, and they do that because just think if everybody experienced the same thing, we would be more likely to come together as a and click and relate more. You know what I'm saying?
right. Yeah,
Do you get gang stalked? If so, could you give certain instances? Um, I know you don't want to name names, and that's fine.
yeah. Well, I told you briefly before we started the interview, I get gang stalked to the point now. I mean, as far as like earlier today, where it could just be the general public around me. They're not specifically hired to gang stalk me, but through what I guess it could be apps on their phone, they're kind of like temporarily employed to parrot messages to each other for me to hear in the form of street theater. And then sometimes it seems so obvious that I come like a popular target where the street could just be two random people having a conversation about me with misinformation. And
yeah,
that alone, that it's like them strangers talking about me with misinformation. So
Yeah, it blew.
enough for them to see how I would react to what they're saying, talking about. But I've been gang stalked to the point where it's been obvious based on the lines of questioning. They've actually asked me direct questions based upon propaganda and bullshit, you know.
Yeah, when I get gang stalked heavily.
Family members kind of playing into it, you know. That's
Yeah,
like it's a sitcom, you know, like having me around is like a sitcom for them and whoever else they're working for, you know. With
yeah. Like I was watching that movie,
horny.
John Wick, when everybody's looking at their phone and stalking him and following him and stuff. And
Right.
like it's man, my experience is kind of like that. Like it's how do you and then I go deep like how you getting people to do that? Like you said, messaging. Are they mind controlling them? Is it some kind of mind control to get? I was stalked by the whole Denver airport. You may think I'm lying. Not the whole, not every single person, but a lot of people at the Denver airport, like and other places I've been, and crowds of people were participating. So I'm like, how do they get the message that quick? You
Right.
know, I'm thinking it's got to be some collective hive mind that's mind controlled sometimes. I don't think every one of them can get the message.
I feel that they're in a hive mind where I'm kind of like an entertainment subject in the hive mind, not on their end of it. But that's just like the example I used in the streets from a couple hours ago, where it's like strangers could be talking about me based upon misinformation. So where are they
Right.
getting that information from? You know? And if I react a certain way, either thinking with my inner speech, or sometimes like I hear the rumors, and sometimes I just don't even care. Like I'll actually talk low to myself because sometimes I get pressure built up in the head from thinking to myself, where it's easier to speak aloud than to keep it inside. And they react like within like a second or half a second based on my response, coming back with backfeeded information to me. So that shows evidence of a hive mind based upon what other whistleblowers have said.
Right. Do you have tinnitus? Like I get ear ringing, I get really bad pressure in my ears, and then they'll make this it'll be against my ear, this vibration, like it'll go right against my ear sometimes, fluttering against my ear, all kinds of stuff with my ears. Do you get to experience that?
Yes, I do, but the tinnitus I get is usually targeted either specifically to the right ear or the left ear.
Yeah.
Like I would get a point to where like my most popular for me is the right ear, and after 30 seconds it fades out and goes away. Like I'll get like a deafening a tinnitus in my right ear, sometimes my left, but usually my right, where my regular hearing gets deaf. I got the ringing sound, and it's not to the point where it's painful and irritating, causing me to like wince and cup over, but it's enough to deafen me and hear the ring. And in like 20 seconds, it starts to fade out and my hearing comes back. I've had directed hearing where it kind of feels like it happened in my right ear twice that I specifically recall. The first time more than the second, where it's like my hearing out of my ear would become amplified to the point where I feel like I have like a conical microphone coming out of my head, and it could pick up a passing conversation that if I was, it happened to me July of 2022, or actually it was late June 2022, on a Sunday night, where I'm on a sidewalk uh, in Suffolk County, and there was a couple sitting down on a planter box in the corner about 10, 15 feet away from me on my side. And I'm not paying any attention to them, but while I'm walking past them, my hearing got amplified and directed where every single word and syllable out of their mouth, my ear picked up, even though I had no interest in them or anything they were doing about. But that conversation for the moment got picked up into my head, not in my out of my right ear and not on my left.
Wow.
Had
Yes. What about your ears? Have they been real sensitive? Like if I'm doing something, like if I'm uh, cutting vegetables or something, every time that knife hits that thing, it'll be like a pound and stabbing my eardrums. Brian too. I don't know if he's been having really bad trouble with his ears, and like I asked him to interview. He said I would interview, but they've damaged my ears so bad that when I talk, he can't. Like when he calls me, he'll be like, "Look, I'm going to do the talking, and then I'll let you text me whatever you need to say because my ears are so bad I cannot. If you talk in the phone, it's going to kill me." So he'll call and talk to me and tell me something. Like he sends me books and stuff sometimes. But yeah, his ears are damaged really bad by these weapons.
Right. I know who Brian Two is. I've been following. I first learned about him from the Jeff French show
Yeah,
years ago. But and Brian Two. I hate to see him in the condition he's in, but he's got comments turned off on his page, and he actually
yeah.
wish I could comment to him, but he's protecting himself with his comments. His latest video today had to do with an old sci-fi movie from the 2010s, I think called Eagle Eye. I've seen that movie and
Yeah, I seen it.
shoot, I don't want to watch it again, but that looks scary, you know?
There's this movie. Man, what was the other name? I can't remember the name of it. But me and Holly were looking into it, and uh, we can't find it nowhere. It's like it's been to like it'll show the. I think it's Control Factor. Maybe that's the name of the movie.
I'm not. The name sounds familiar. The last movie I rented was Inception,
But
but
the movie will show up, and it's about. I swear, if you watch the trailer on it, this dude's talking about targeting and everything, and it's about targeting. But I looked everywhere, YouTube, where to rent it, you, and it's got it, but it says this video is not available. Imagine that. You
right,
know,
right,
I
right,
mean, dude said I'm a targeted individual. I'm being targeted. Uh, and they're hitting me with frequencies. Could you help me? That's in the trailer of the movie. I mean, and we wanted to watch that bad, but we couldn't find it nowhere.
right, right.
What
Have you watched Black Mirror on Netflix?
it's a series.
It's a series. It's a real
We
dark.
started watching some of it, but we couldn't really get into it.
It's scary accurate, where it's like each episode is a standalone episode based on a certain negative kind of like draconian situation
So you
based.
really got to pay attention, right?
You got to pay attention, but each episode is on its own, and there are perpetrators and victims in each episode. But the scenarios, I mean, there's been like spin-offs of those scenarios in my own personal life.
Right.
Kind of like, are they watching these shows too and trying to recreate them? I don't know, you know, if they're using the same entertainment as basis, but it's
I would say they are,
yeah.
especially um man, they're messing my head. Hold on.
1984 is a scary one. George Orwell.
Yeah,
You know.
it's that's a book though. There's no movie, is there?
It was a book written in 1949.
Yeah, I've read the book. I'm talking about, is there a movie? I've tried to find it.
Kind of old and dated, but it is a movie based upon the 1949 novel. But that's a scary story about kind of like tyrannic government control being
Yeah.
a democracy. And that's well, that's getting off the rails of where we are now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and you know, Terminator and all that, that Skynet program is real. I mean, they're fixing to have that in place. Now, not to the extent of Terminator yet, but
Names their similar program called Skynet. They have a program in China specific to their party and government, but they nickname it Skynet to their public. They
yeah.
actually use the same name. So
Have you heard of Jade Helm?
no, I've heard, but I'm not too familiar other than that.
Okay. Uh, so could you tell me a little like summer? Not don't go into big detail, but could you give me a summary of what life was like before targeting and what it's like now? Just like briefly.
Well, life before targeting. Um, I would say I've had a good high school experience. I wasn't like the Mr. Popular kid. I wasn't hated or bullied upon in high school, but I had kind of like a low key um mixed group. upbringing. Like I was friends with jocks and I was friends with the skaters and the burnouts and and the smarty pants, like the real collegiate focus. I was kind of had like a mixed group of friends in high school. I went to a military college. I don't want to like disclose the name right now. And my college was from 2000 to 2005, during 9/11 and during the beginning of the Iraq War. Um, After college, I went to work offshore. I've suffered some personal issues during those years after college. Um, I did need to seek outside help for those personal issues. But by the time my targeting began, I was about, I would say, 6 months into a recovery from those personal issues, to the point where they weren't even like they weren't even an itch on my mind or a bother to me. The people, places, and things related to those earlier personal issues, I was way beyond that when my targeting began. And I steered clear of those core issues very well up until this very day. But as a result of my targeting through the grapevine, I've learned that X, Y, and Z people, some related directly to targeting me, some just off collateral damage, have fallen down those paths and were barely able to hold on to stay alive and come back and function again. As a result of me being targeted, the collateral damage had spin-offs to the point where other people have nearly lost their lives. I did learn of one high school buddy who shot himself in the head and committed suicide in 2016. I learned about that this last December, and I was the last person to learn about it. I brought up his name, wondering how he is, if he's still out there, because I haven't heard his name mentioned since 2013. And that's when I got the message that, he's been off the radar. He's been off the record completely since 2015. And I heard he shot himself in the head. And he was not victim of the same um abuse that me and some of the others had fallen into. So I think he may have been targeted in 2015, 2016, and just kind of gave up, which took me for a spin because he seemed like he was pretty confident in his life and had.
Yeah, well, what I meant though is like I used to be like very outgoing, life of the party, go to church, go ever. I would be um kind of like a easygoing, outgoing person, going to work and stuff. Now it's this has really ruined me. I'm a recluse, agoraphobic. I've lost family, friends, and just very. It's just really damaged me and traumatized me. Have you experienced anything like that to that point? Like that's what I'm saying. Like quality of life.
I have. I've been to the point where I did try going back to church in 2013 in my home community, which where I no longer live, and I don't even have family living in that community anymore. But I tried during my target had ended for a number of years, and I tried getting back to the church. It didn't work out for non-targeting reasons. I can't blame it on targeting for why it didn't work out. But I've had been excluded from my high school community. It seemed like between like I graduated in 2000, from 1999 to 2001. There have been friends and acquaintances of me in that past life that I no longer talk to any of them anymore, except through gang stalking and hive mind, quote unquote hive mind. I believe like the spirit of them I can communicate with, but also the communication gets manipulated and distorted. So, but as far as actual real communication, quote unquote, where we're writing each other and seeing each other face to face, that had ended in 2012. So I've been excluded from my hometown, my home community. I'm lucky
Sort
to
of isolated then.
there on holiday visits, and even then, it's kind of like anytime I'm around family, it's like I'm the elephant in the room and nobody's talking about the real problem. They're just kind of everyone's talking around it, the issue. And I've been used to that for many years now. Talk about
That's,
anything other than me and like my why I had the problems I have, you know.
do you talk to them? Do they know that you identify as a TI? Anybody?
They do, even though we don't talk about it directly.
Right.
Oh
They
no.
don't want to hear it if you did talk about it properly.
There's an underground joke going like, oh, we're not supposed to talk about it. And Matt, if you dare ask or say anything, Matt, you must be insane and blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. You need a therapist, you need help, where's your medication and all the other horse shit that goes with it. And it's just kind of like, go fuck yourself. I don't want to hear it, you know? But you know,
Yeah.
excuse my language. I just don't want to get to that point when I'm so yeah.
Yeah. Actually, for me, like in 2012 to 2014, believe it or not, I was going to church. I was sitting underneath a preacher. I was preaching voluntarily at these halfway houses and stuff. And uh, that's when they sent my honeypot handler in my life to drag me. And the first thing, when we first got married, the first thing we went to church one time, she said, David, I'm going to give you ultimatum now. Either you give up and don't go to church no more, or we're breaking up. There's too many women looking at you in church. That should have been my sign right there. You see what I'm saying? But I got drug away and I went for it. You know, man, I stopped going to church and everything. And that's when my stalking started getting gaslit by her and all this. She would hide stuff from me and then put it back 2 weeks later. Oh, you didn't look for that. It's been there the whole time, David. And I
Do
know I looked for it.
you think it was completely made up? Where like
I
did
believe she was sending my life as a,
sincerity to it? Like, or did it catch you as just like surprise? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've known these people for years, and I'm no more special to them today than I was like last year. Or did it seem like a complete lie? Or did you catch like any kind of no
what, from her?
no from the other females in the church? Like she said,
Oh no, no.
not
I wasn't paying attention to him. That's what I'm saying. It
like
was like all deceptive to drag me out of the church.
fast. Like you were just your normal self and you weren't any special or there was nothing particular
No.
about you that were catching their attention. So it's like she made the whole thing up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that, I mean, that's my fault for falling for it. But man, there's some very deceptive stuff. Have you ever ran across a honeypot, by the way, while we're speaking to about them?
Yes, I've had. I don't want to give details on it, but I've had like a plant placed in front of me. It was funny because I actually in August of 22, I had to spend about a week in this town while I was getting ready to, I was working offshore in the Gulf of Mexico out of Louisiana. I had to take a 2 month break from that job while I was waiting for paperwork to get upgraded for me before I went back. And during that 2 month break from that job, waiting for that paperwork to get taken care of, I took a temp job up in Dutch Harbor, Alaska, but I needed like a week to complete the hiring process for that job. And I put myself in this town and out of like my temporary residence in Eastern Long Island. And I chose to put myself in a stay in kind of like a religious hostel in the area to kind of keep, because I had plans from the beginning to stay out of the limelight, stay out of the public, and don't be don't be like trying to make friends really apart. I didn't want to party and be out in public during those weeks. I wanted to stay as low key as possible. But I got gang stalked and forced out of that hostel, directed to go to a hotel 2 blocks away. And there was a plant put in my way in that process, which I didn't figure out 2 months later that she was actually being planted for those purposes of being a honeypot. I didn't figure it out until way later. And it turns out, even like as far as like the year after that, into like later 22 into 2023, I've learned more about why that happened, why my problems in Alaska happened. And I don't learn about the details until like almost a whole year later about why what happened. So I thought it happened for other reasons, but it turns out that there was it has to do with like some of the root gang stalkers and uh public manipulation games have been playing against me that I've had evidence for. I've been kind of gullible and naive when it comes to those things for many years, just trying to say like, no, it's not true, it's not true. It can't be that, they're just trying to gaslight me. Then months to a year later, I get the evidence coming back to me saying, yeah, that's what it was, Matt, and it hurt. So the honeypot thing, I guess it happened one time. Um, so yes, it's happened once.
Yeah. And so you've been through the isolation then too, and
Oh,
friends you knew, and like, why are they not talking to me no more?
right,
Well,
right. It's a,
yeah,
they're allowed to gang stalk me, but they're not allowed to talk to me directly.
right. And you were close to them, right? I
If
mean, that's been my experience. People I was close to, I'm like, wow, you don't even want to talk to me or nothing no more.
Right,
After all I've done did for you, we were cool.
right, right. It seems like even if their message seems to be intent and secure and even if they have care and concern about me, I'm still not allowed to write or email them, which hurt.
And you are able to hold a job, of course. We've done discussed that. And I admire your bravery and your it takes a lot to work a job as a TI, going through gang stalking, weapons, and the situational scenarios and stuff they street theater and stuff they put in front of you. It's gotta take a hard toll on you stress wise.
As far as danger in the workplace as a result of targeting, that has come and gone over the years. A majority of my time working offshore has been safe and had minimal amount of stalking in theater. But I felt that as a result of my situation, my life has been directly put in danger twice as a result of the program. Um, Obviously, I'm here in one piece, and I'm physically fit enough to continue my job. So it's to be hashed out years whenever I get to that point. But the danger aspect has dropped off, and within the past couple months. But thank you for expressing that concern. Um, I don't see myself any more different than the guys I work with because I've seen other people's lives being put in danger as well as a result of the program. Like I wasn't the only one who I felt their life has been in jeopardy because of my targeting case. I've had crew members that almost fell off the sides of barges and crew members that have been direct energy tortured right in front of my face. But I mean, the rule is we're not supposed to talk about it. I kind of stick around the area, make sure the guy gets up and walks away and breathes and gets up in a few hours again. So, I mean, that's about the most I can do in those situations, other than be close as a witness and aware of what's going on. But so it's the danger has left my home community and came onto the job after me. Um, and it's like I said, the severity comes and goes.
Yeah, I mean, this program, they put gang stalkers in danger every day because you never know when somebody who's targeted might snap and have enough. I would never do that. I don't advise it, but it's happened. And
Yes.
it happened on account of whoever's putting these people up to this. They don't care about what happens to the people they're putting up to it. You see what I'm saying?
Have you
Because
ever been directly assaulted as a result of the quote unquote the snapping and like because I've been snapped at to the point, but I've never been physically swung at or assaulted as a result of the targeting. Like I've gotten people get like almost like in my face ready to break, but I'd hold my ground and it would die off, or other people not other people around them would be like a barrier enough to break it up and keep it from escalating. But have you ever been
Well,
punched?
there's one incident you'd have to watch my testimony because I don't want to talk about it right now. Uh, but if you listen to my testimony, I talk about it, and I've actually had people like follow me around and walk around right in front of me, looking at me mean, saying, "Yeah, we're going to get him when the sun goes down," stuff like that. When I was homeless on the streets, and I'm thinking the sun's going down, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," you know what I'm saying? And then right when the sun goes down, they would leave. It was all street theater. So I mean, I've had some crazy stuff happen. Other than that, I don't know if you've seen my testimony.
I've seen was it with Target Individuals United?
Yeah,
The British man. Yes, I've seen that. I was
about what happened with my head.
offshore working when I saw that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, I experienced it one time, but I have experienced, like you said, in your face. But I at homeless shelters, man, it was horrible. And then see, they had me blacklisted so bad, like some homeless shelters wouldn't even accept me or help me out at all, and then some churches wouldn't even help me out. But I would watch them help other people, and they'd be like, "We don't help people," but they're helping other people. You know what I'm saying? Right in front of me, like
It's like did they have like
blacklisted.
a nasty condensation about you, like you might be a I don't know, like I'll just make up any kind of hate crime that's false, but they can make up and play against you. Like you're this,
Yeah,
but it's like, but it's not true. I've heard typically there is the popular four lies that they perpetrate against someone to see how they would play out against them, even if they try to falsify evidence about it. But it might be that like you're a racist or you're bigot, you're hateful, you abuse children, but it's all lies. Did the
yeah,
whole
they're good at that, and they'll go to the links that when a target is first starting through smear campaigns, they'll create documents to back up what they're saying about that target.
right,
Target.
right. Back in 2021, I moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I was renting in a neighborhood that was predominantly minority. In fact, I think I was like I was like one of three whites living in this neighborhood that I remember from the time. And I didn't realize it until my second week living there that they were running some bullshit campaign that I was a racist. And then it came out from the local community that I was living in there, even though I was unaware of it. It's like, well, if he's such a racist, then why did he move here? That's
Yeah,
crap.
I've heard countless targets say that race. They played that race card with them.
If he was a racist, it just makes no sense. The guy seems smart. He's holding a job that requires brains. Like, why put himself in the neighborhood if that was how he was? But so I mean, and I know where that came from. That came from hometown. So
Yeah. See, I had a TI call me the other day and talk about that. Man, they're telling people I'm racist, and I got people against me thinking I'm racist, but I'm not.
right,
That's a common theme they've been using lately.
right.
And it works too because people playing that race card very, very. A lot of people are sensitive to it, so it's the perfect little scheme.
I
Do you
don't.
experience B2K?
It's such a waste of my time and space, and it's like such a waste of my brain power to. I mean, I like engineering. I like problems that can be solved. If other people have ongoing social issues that don't apply to me, I don't even want to be involved in it. It just seems like pettiness to me. But I've had the race card played against me. I've had the sexuality card played against me. What was your question?
Do
Uh,
you experience B2K?
B2K. Yes, I do. Not at the moment during this interview, but as far as recent as just before we signed on, I get it sometimes more than others. And they like to play word games with me. Like they'll play a word game like um what's an example? Like a rim shot or a wrist shot. And they want to know how I interpret the word. And a wrist shot, I take as like a hockey. I've been a hockey fan since middle school. A wrist shot's a hockey shot, or a rim shot is like a basketball hitting the rim and not getting in. Like a miss. It didn't make the basket, it hit the rim and bounced off. Or And they play other word games against me. I can't pull up one right now, but it's like, um, it's how I interpret the word that they play out of my end. Meanwhile, on their end, they're trying to interpret it as a slang for something else, and they're trying to run theater on that end of it. But how I interpret it is how on my end I interpret it. So they like to play these word games. I kind of like Rorschachs, like I don't know. I don't have my tools on me
Do
right.
they use different people's voices that you know?
What's this right here? It's a chopstick, but it could be seen as a drumstick and not sharpened as a stave to kill someone.
They'll say that in your mind?
No, it's like I've heard him say Rorschach while I'll be working on the job using tools and cleaning parts. But just as an example, this is really a chopstick, okay? But it can be seen as being whittled to a weapon as a stave. It could be also seen as like, oh, that's a drumstick, but really it's a chopstick. That would be what they call Rorschach. And the word games are kind of like Rorschach, but it's for words. They'll say a name or a nickname, and it's like how I interpret it is shows clearly in my mindset how I think, and what they try to play with that word could be have a negative, dirty
Yeah,
connotation.
see, mine shame me, mine threaten me. They use my wife's voice, sometimes my ex-wife's voice, the honeypot I was talking about. Sometimes they'll use my sister's voice. Usually if it's pertaining to why you read
It's my
David, why
others.
you reading the Bible, David? David, look what you're going through. You think God's real? Why? And it'll be my sister's voice. Or sometimes if it's a threatening, David, you know you're going to be kidnapped and murdered. It's just a matter of time, and that's my wife's voice. Like they alternate. It's crazy. And then they try to shame me.
Away from your wife for about 5 years now, 6 years,
Yeah, 8 years. Let's see, 2015, 8 years.
8 years, 8 years you haven't been with her, and you still hear her voice. I've heard my grandmother's voice, who passed away from leukemia when I was in third grade. I haven't seen my grandmother since third grade, but I've heard her name and some short speech come through and talk to me, but it wasn't her voice.
It's research and development's what it is. These military people are really researching and development weapons just to see how you act, situational scenarios. They're trying to create avatars. Like, have you seen the movie Avatar?
I've seen the movie Avatar, but can we pause real quick while I use the bathroom? Uh,
Oh, sure.
I'll be back in about a minute.
Matter of fact, I can pause the recording right now.
Please do. All right, back.
Yeah, like Avatar and like they're like the simulation. What? See, now that they take stuff out of they take information out of my brain.
Um, have you ever seen the Men That Stare at Goats? It's an old,
Uh,
came out during the late era of the Iraq War. With George Clooney was in it. A famous
mm-mm.
Scottish actor was in it. But it has to do with psyops being used in the Iraq War. I thought that's a kind of like it's kind of written as a comedy, and I kind of thought that movie was funny. Avatar I have seen where it's kind of like where they take over the body of a physical entity and control it. I have
And they have that technology, believe it or not.
they
Like
do.
it's
They do where they could hive mind a remote person with the person on the street and take over the speech and actions of that person. And
yep.
you. I've seen it in front of my eyes, and I've actually also experienced it happening to myself while I was at work to the point where it interfered with me working.
Yeah, and they done that to me. They made me I don't even want to explain it because people won't even believe me. They
Right.
made me walk this straight line, and there were where they made me do this at, I was homeless. There was a blue line and a gold line, and I'm walking in a straight line. I don't know why I'm walking it, but I know if I step over the line, the bomb's gonna go off. So they were like mind controlling me to walk this perfect line. And then this dude said,
Yes.
"Hey, I'm behind these bushes over here. Come get me." So
Right.
then they released me to where I had free will to do what I wanted, and I walked behind the bushes, and they're like, "Haha, nobody's there." I swear that experience happened. It sounds crazy, but I swear I've seen some stuff in this program, man.
Did you notice during that time when they were looking back on it, when they controlled you, Did it seem like your hearing or your vision kind of changed a little bit during that
Yeah, it
period?
was like all focused in. There wasn't no hearing or vision. It was like I was just focused on the task I was doing and I couldn't break free from it.
It's scary, but yes.
But you got to understand, I had been walking the streets. They had me sleep deprived very bad when they did that.
Right, right. I went 5 nights in a week without sleep. I came close to breaking that record last June. I went 4 nights at my job without getting real sleep. Like I'll be able to get rest, but the V2K and the stalking will continue to the point where it kept me from actually falling asleep, getting like real rest. But I've been sleep deprived on the job, off the job, but they kept me for 5 nights in a row without real sleep.
Yeah, and they do that to program you
Yeah.
because sleep deprivation allows you to be programmed better. It's just no difference than the torture techniques the CIA uses on somebody they want to talk or something. They'll get them very sleep deprived, keep them in a cell, tie them to a chair, make sure they don't sleep for days, and then try to get the truth out of them.
Boot camp is kind of like that to an extent, where they kind of sleep deprive you during boot camp to help break you down so they could build you back up. I mean, that's kind of like the theory behind boot camp is breaking you down to your core,
All
testing
right.
your core and then rebuilding you, you
And
know?
then instilling that army lingo and propaganda in you.
Right, right, right. But you're not really trainable until they break you down. So,
Right.
and sleep deprivation is part of that because it weakens your abilities, you know? So,
Uh, do you uh do you use any kind of shielding or anything? Like
uh,
I'm sitting next to a window right now. I don't know if you can hear this. That's Mylar. Uh,
I didn't hear
they
anything.
do much, but it's worth a shot, so we keep it up. So
I got I've been living as a nomad really, so I don't have my own residence to
oh, okay.
like if I bought a house and needed to be painted, I'd probably spend $45 a gallon on shielded paint. I've seen that sold where shielding is a paint ingredient, but it's expensive and
Are you talking about tungsten powder?
I forget the actual what they're using for the compound, but I've seen shield EMF protected shielded paint
Wow.
paneling I've seen. Um, I don't, as far as shielding goes, I think I told you before the interview that I ordered two neodymium magnets. They're about
Yeah.
bar size, about that big. I've ordered two of them, and I'm specifically saving them from work to carry in my pockets. And hopefully that'll draw negative energy away from my body. I've heard I want to try to not they want to
Are
charge
you
me.
going to try the Zeolite?
The zeolite I want to look into, see if I can find it at a good
If
price.
you do it, make sure you drink a lot of water when you're doing it.
That'll be perfect for my job because my
Yeah.
job mostly I'm drinking usually coffee or water. It's like what I mostly drink on the job.
Now,
So
somebody said it would have negative effects, but I've done a lot of research on it, and it says, it comes from, they dumped it on Chernobyl and these to absorb all this negative radiation and stuff. Some of
what's
it,
zeolite? Really?
yeah. And they say it's. I've read the studies. I read. You know what activated charcoal is? It's 10,000 times more powerful detox than activated charcoal. And they say activated charcoal is a pretty good detox.
Wow, wow, wow.
So I'm trying it out. Like I've noticed a little bit of boost to energy. Brain fog is really gone. Because it's supposed to get the metals out, but you're supposed to do it for 28 days. It's $52 for one canister, but one canister lasts a year.
Right, right, right. I saw what you were advertising. I'm just looking for my book bag right now because I carry an EMF meter with me regularly. Um, I don't, I'm gonna try the magnets out for shielding, but as far as monitoring and for gathering evidence, I've gotten some good video and photographic evidence of readings. This is a meter that I bought.
Oh, that looks like a good one. Does it measure radio waves too? Radio frequency?
EMF Fields acoustic meter. Uh,
Okay.
for $400 a couple years ago.
Wow.
Actually, it's funny because right now, as you're recording it, it is some bars higher than it was last night. So I'm actually getting more saturation right now at the moment, even though I'm not feeling physical attacks on me. And
Right.
there's outside attention added to my normal. My cell phone is turned off though, so it's just basically they know where I'm at, you know. Um, I've also as far as supplements go, I take magnesium, fish oil, vitamin B1 that helps with memory retention. I'm gonna try the zeolite, and I take a multivitamin every day.
Yeah. See, I've been researching sour sop. I take turkey tail mushroom, lion's mane mushroom,
Sure.
smart drops, which is they're called smart drops. It's got reishi, cordyceps, and all this different mushroom blends. I'm a big believer in lion's mane mushroom.
Act
It,
as like an upper or a stimulant. For,
like a neurotropic. Yeah.
I got you. I've seen those advertised.
Well, not so much a upper. It just clears your brain fog and allows you to focus.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
it might be good then. Because my as a result of my targeting, I found myself in an overstimulated nervous system, and I've actually had PTSD that this last January and February got brought to the point where my body would get like a nervous tick behind it while I'm not from my own, like my
They
subconscious.
say magnesium helps with that. Now I take liquid magnesium.
Okay, I take magnesium for bone support.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well, they
nerve.
have liquid magnesium. It's an extract. It's more
Okay.
powerful, and it will. They say take it, and it helps me sleep.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I wish I could. Well, that's a long way away from me right now. So, but yeah, I take omega threes too, like fish oil, stuff like that. What do you do to cope with targeting?
Excuse me.
What do you do to cope with all this? Like, how do you cope? Make it through each day? Is
I
there any certain things you do?
Most of what I do is try to distract myself from the issue. Whether it's using the gym periodically when I'm not working, when I'm at work, I'd like to do around, try to find something that needs to be broken to fix it.
Multitasking. See, multitasking works, and
Yeah,
the reason it works, you're thinking in different threads. The computer's trying to lock on to your mind, and
right.
you're thinking in different threads, so it's hard for it to lock on.
The gang stalkers are trying to find focus as well to either play games against you, but I find that sometimes when I distract myself on the computer, a lot of the times the stalking stops because the bad part of the gang just isn't interested anymore.
When I was homeless, I used to test this out.
You know, and they don't care anymore. You know,
Yeah, when I was homeless, I actually used to test this out. I would be walking somewhere, and I'd be like, "All right, I'm going to Dollar General," and I'd have it in my thoughts. And then on the way to Dollar General, I would go to this different store, just simultaneously, spontaneously.
right. Oh, that looks good. I could use that in this go. Like nobody,
Yeah,
even yourself wasn't planning it, right? But
right. Because they know where you're going.
either
I
roll
know
their
you're getting
eyes with
food.
each other, or like they're not prepared for it, you know. But they can't force you to say no. It's like, all right, well, I guess we'll suffer through it and see what he does here, you know.
Do you think there's any end to this targeting?
I was hoping for a long time that this would be the year that there would be some kind of legal disclosure in our favor, something from Washington that could come out to help us. I had the only sign of help coming from Washington that I've seen over the past couple months was that a Senate committee acknowledged that artificial intelligence is at a point where it could possibly take over for our negative benefit, our negative life, but not rather than helping us like we've been promised. So that's on the AI front. And I've also seen a Department of Homeland Security based select committee talk about Havana syndrome and treatment for government employees, and they have mentioned civilians as well who've been targeted from the Havana syndrome. So that's talking the works as well. And I'm wondering to save face, they might take our situation and wrap it up as we are victims of AHI's Havana syndrome, or like another popular targeting outlet case has been following, was pursuing justice for people on an illegal watch list. Where
Yeah,
I know that I'm not on an illegal watch list to the point where I'm on a no-fly list. I fly regularly for my work. Don't have any problems with that. But they might just say that our directed energy torture could fall under Havana syndrome, and we may get compensation under those lines because they don't want to directly say that we were civilians singled out for guinea pig experiment.
right.
So they may try to write it off as that. I don't know, but I was hoping this year might be the year that we would get some kind of legal help or protection. And as far as I've seen down in Washington, they're just basically talking about the AI aspect of it.
And
And
blaming it on Russia.
well, I don't know about the AI. It seemed like they were trying to blame it on Russia, but the 60 Minutes, the TV show, ran a special a couple months ago where they were talking about Havana syndrome, and they mentioned a Russian agent got interviewed as a result of being tracked to it. And then it turns out, as a basis of that interview with the Russian agent, it came out that he alluded that it was our own government that was producing the weapons and employing it on us, but they ended right there. They didn't pursue it any further. So,
And speaking of Russia, I've been watching this channel. It's got real news. It's called Off Grid Desert Farming with Paul and Adrian. It's a YouTube channel. We're in trouble. So anybody who has the means to stock up on a 30-day supply of food, if you can. I know a lot of targets, it's struggle, but and then if you're living place to place and like you are, but yeah, Russia stuff is, this is not no fear porn stuff channel I watch or nothing like that. Like, Russia has been patient and patient and patient, and now America's gave Ukraine permission to use their weapons to strike in Russia. And today, Medvedev, which is the second in command in Russia, has
Ukraine
begged the U.S.
week had
not.
fired weapons into Russia as far as late as last week. Ukraine has been firing weapons into Russia.
Yeah, and Russia knows it, and they're being patient and patient and patient. So
The
anyway, what I'm hearing is there's a whole Britain's at war with Russia right now. They're not telling us that. They're not going to tell us that. In France, France the other day, 300 France people got disintegrated by a bomb. They said there wasn't nothing left of them to pay
right.
and bring home to their families. So I don't know. I just would be getting ready if you could, or try to find, if something hits the fan, because I think it's really going down. Not to get off subject or whatever, but this is serious stuff.
Our own weather patterns have gotten messed up last week.
Yeah.
With the tornadoes that happened in the Midwest last week.
Yep.
I don't know if you were in danger of that or not. I mean, I know you're from the Midwest, but I don't know if you had to relocate as a result of tornadoes because there were power outages all up the
No,
Midwest.
I'm in the South now, so
You're in the South.
yeah. I
So
used to be in the Midwest.
okay, I got you. You're down south now. Got you.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, signs of the times. You got tornadoes, real bad tornadoes coming, like nothing we ain't never seen, and it said it's going to get worse.
Those Midwest states. A lot of damage. Last time I remember a major power outage in my area was Hurricane Sandy in 2012. And they had linemen and public utility workers getting sent to my hometown as a result of Hurricane Sandy. Now it's the opposite.
Yeah, so like when I get done drinking a bottle of water, we fill water bottles up. We got water bottles stocked up, stuff like that. I mean, because you never know what might happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, well, I'm fixing to go back out to work in another week. Within a week. So if I'm living on a ship, I'm safe from all that. We make our own water, or we take our own water from a city utility. So we got our own generation. I'm actually, if there was a public power outage or loss of a public utility, I'm safer living on a ship than living on shore, given those circumstances.
Right.
So I'm not too worried. And
So
plus,
didn't you say that there were? Did I hear you say that there's actually a support group that meets every now and then.
Yes, there is. There's a couple of support
And they
groups.
say this ain't real though.
No,
But
no,
Steve, we got support groups in there. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. You know what I'm saying? That's good.
they were targeted justice. Targeted Justice, the website with
Oh,
Richard Lighthouse, the federal attorney, Dr. Anna. I'm sorry, the lawyer.
oh,
And
they are the ones that got the groups.
there was groups mentioned. I've been on a call in conference call with them in the past. My local city community has a support group that they have gatherings, but I'm only rarely available to join in with them. But even though some of them I still talk to on my own basis, and that's about it. There other than call-in conference calls.
Man, them conference calls.
So my
They love to get you to respond. Somebody, I don't know how. When I used to be in a conference calls in 2018, people would get on there making uh, monkey noises and pig noises, and or they would do something to get you to react and get the whole group arguing at once.
They're
Just
trolls. They're trolls. They're like trolls on Facebook.
oh
They join a special interest group just to make a mess of the whole scene and
yeah,
everyone they
still going on like that.
like kids just looking for dirty attention, you
So
know.
does that still happen in them calls?
I haven't heard that in the call. When I've been on the calls, the worst it's gotten for me on the calls was getting like the host kind of try to gaslight me a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though it wasn't really
That's
true.
why I don't even go to calls no more because it used to get so crazy.
What that host was saying was pure bullshit, just trying to direct me down a bad path rather than give me either support or either verify my questions or show support for it, you know.
Now
So
there was a good conference call back in 2018. I can't think of that woman's name. I think her name was Linda something. I mean, I was so traumatized in 2018 because my targeting was ramped up. I was actually out and about. I was getting perked everywhere I went, man. And so when I joined them calls, I was a wreck.
Linda T, just Linda Tavares. Oh no, that's Deborah Tavares. Okay, she was a
No,
whistleblower.
her name was I think it was Linda.
Okay,
Can't think of her last name.
okay.
But I've been on Frank's call in Massachusetts,
Oh, targeted mass.
calls. Yeah.
I'm familiar with that group. I met. I
Ryan's call. I don't know if Ryan still has a call.
I spoke over the phone with a target from Rhode Island who was rooted in that target, the Massachusetts space group. But I've actually been gang stalked through a contracting firm with a perp stalker from the Massachusetts Boston area, but he was a perpetrator who knew one of my main perpetrators, and through the grapevine started studying me. And I heard recently that he's known up in the targeted mass area, even though I never talked to the victim end of it up there.
Yeah.
So I know a perp from Rhode Island. I know a target from Rhode Island, even though I haven't spoke to him in about 2 years, and also a perp from the Boston area. Don't even know the guy's name, but I know he's from that area. And the rest of the hive told me that's where he's from, you know. And
Yeah.
in this, I kind of get them laughing. I say, you know what they say a lot of my end of my V2K is like, you don't even know. And I could tell by the tone of their voice, it's either, yeah, you're right, or you don't even know, like you don't want, like I don't want to know. Don't even ask anymore, don't think about it anymore. This is something you don't even want to know, literally. You know?
Yeah. Because it's deep.
Yeah, like I said, those are word games, you know. They say I
Right.
don't even know or you don't want to know. They'll say you don't even know, you don't know, you don't know, you have no idea, or you have no idea. And it's kind of like with the way they say it is like, yeah, you don't want to know, or they're laughing and saying you're right, but I'm not telling you you're right, you know. So that's how those word games work. Like you got no idea, and it's like either a laugh or meaning like, oh, dude, you don't even go any further. We don't even want to think about it, you know, like that kind of shit, which tells me, yeah, as fucked up as it seems. Sorry, excuse my language. It's true, you know.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about
Uh,
before we end the interview?
could edit out those curse words.
Well, that's hard to do.
Okay,
They understand, people to understand.
I'm trying to keep it kosher, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm used to my job, you know, where it is.
But do you, I mean, we have time. Do you have anything you want to add or talk about? Anything important that you might have missed?
Well, I've been to the emergency room multiple times as a result of targeting. There is one hospital from my hometown area that whole hospital system I refuse to go to anymore because I could actually, if I wanted to get down and dirty, I could file malpractice suits against that community. But to me, it's just easier just to walk away and don't go back than to actually go down that path. As far as legal action goes, I had to file my own civil case. It's going to be ongoing and open for hopefully over a year. I'm not really trying to stick around and get digging into the weeds on it, but it is filed. I have not been denied any services. It's like fairly recent but ongoing issue. There is one of the class action suits that I'm trying to get on board with. Um, I've sent them written testimony. I believe one of their investigators has came out to verify my case as late as last fall, as well as October of last year. One of their investigators had verified my situation, even though I never had direct conversation with him. And I'm hoping to use this video testimony to submit along with them because I have yet to make my own solo video confession out of fear. I've written out a kind of like my video testimony on paper, but I have not actually gotten to the point of getting myself in front of the camera offline and and saying my video testimony, saving it and forwarding it to the team out of fear of retaliation. At the time,
Oh yeah, understandable.
if I did my video testimony stating my full name, date of birth, and using like trying even getting more directed to who my perks are and the company the base company behind them that sponsored them over the years. I was afraid of heavy retaliation where I'll be looking to go to the emergency room again and looking to put myself out of the limelight because I had a fear for my own life and safety. So
Right.
that is something I wanted to include that I am pursuing legal compensation for the damages accrued on me, both in my own case and also through a class action suit. So,
Well, hopefully you can build up evidence and stuff. They've been really, since I've really gotten more subscribers on YouTube, they've been getting more covert with my targeting. You know, hard to get evidence unless I'm looking at the cameras 24/7 and really got it on. You know what I'm saying?
say have it just looking out the front door or the front window saying outside is the real world that could be better out there. That's heaven. I think the same thing. I think heaven is just taking like 2 months to go overseas and live low key and stay out of the major cities or in other countries and doing like the low key nomad tourist thing. And
Oh, I would love to live in the. I
hey,
mean, I watch a lot of off grid. I would love to live off grid.
live off grid. I've had like kind of like low level fantasies of one day having an off the grid vacation. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
eating a
that'd
cat.
be so peaceful.
Yeah, having taken a week or 10 days to live off the grid and try it out as
And
a
then you're away from all the radiation because you know even these power lines, light
vacation.
poles, all this is radiation.
Like I take vacation from work in my hometown area, so that's considered like even though I'm not living like I don't know, like Cancun style or something like that. It's still a
Go to the Chapalaya Basin.
vacation. But within that vacation, I could take like a week to 10 days off to live off the grid. And that's like a vacation within the
I'm
vacation.
telling you, I was lost in the Chapalaya Basin in Louisiana for 30 days
Right.
as a target, and I was lost, and I was sleeping on the swamp floor. Gators surrounding me. Not lying, not lying. The gators didn't mess with me. But
In
listen, it was one of the best 30 days of my life.
the Everglades into Florida?
No, in Chapalaya Basin in Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana. Oh, Bayou area. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're familiar with Houma?
Houma. Yeah.
You know, Cut Off, Louisiana? You
Uh,
know, it's about an hour east of
Whiskey Bay,
it's along the Bayou channels. About an hour east of
Bayou Teche,
east of New Orleans, about an hour east of New Orleans and 45 minutes north of Houma,
Homa. They talk like that.
and east of east.
I'm from Homa, Louisiana.
Right.
Hey, they got some good food down there too.
They do. They do. But the area of Houma and Cutoff, I'm familiar with that area. Port Fourchon,
Yeah,
Louisiana. I've worked out of there a couple times. So
yeah.
that
So I was lost in the swamps,
uh,
Whiskey Bay and all that, off of man, what is that? What was that name of that? Crotch Springs.
right.
Yeah. And I mean, I was lost in the swamp. There was no power lines, and I found these camps way out in the woods. They
Twice I heard
didn't.
that story. You're lucky to make it back alive, man. I
It
heard
was like it was like nature was good to me. I mean, I'm seeing snakes, gators.
this where I felt like I could have been hospitalized or lost my life. But within like a matter of hours, I've recovered from that. You've been living homeless and pretty much out to your own devices in the jungle. Well, I'm lucky you came out without rabies.
I never understood it. Listen, I'm sleeping in gator territory every night on the floor of the ground and
Wow.
never got messed with. It's like the gators could sense my pain and what I was going through, and they knew that I wasn't there for them. You know what I'm saying? It was weird.
That's weird.
I
That's
was totally at one with nature.
and gators are reptiles, not mammals. I
Yeah.
heard mammals are more keen to pick up on that. Mammals will pick up on human emotion, and depending on the animal, if they know you're afraid and conscious, they'll try to play on your fear, or they understand your fear and your suffering, and they won't bother you. They'll oh he's not a predator, he's not a threat, he's just trying to recover from something, and the animal will move on. But those lizards, they have a different
Yeah.
of operation there. Like they'll either, oh, he's afraid and he must be prey. Like
Yep.
snakes do that. If snakes know you're down and you're in pain and tortured and debilitating, certain snakes they'll turn into hunter mode then.
Yep.
Look at you as
And I heard gators
oh,
are
go
really not attacking. They really want to attack humans unless it's a mom or you jump in the water and make a big splash. They're
right.
gonna go at it. And then somebody told me if you run from a gator,
Threat and they go for it. Yeah.
yeah. And somebody told me if you ever have to run from a gator, you zigzag when you're running.
I've seen gators twice. And they were Mississippi River and also in the Bayou of
Yeah,
Louisiana.
I was surrounded by them, having to sleep in the swamp. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow.
I was at peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm away from electronic. I was away from targeting. I was way off in the woods. I mean, I still experienced B2K. That's what's crazy. I still experienced B2K, but I mean, it was just like a peaceful experience.
Right, right, right. Right on. All right, Dave. Hey, listen, I hope to do this again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And
It was nice talking to you, man. And I'm gonna
I
put
can
this on YouTube. That's okay, right?
what's up?
It's okay to go on YouTube.
YouTube's cool. Yeah, this could go on YouTube. I'm just worried about those two curse
Don't worry about the curse words, man.
words.
There's
Okay, all right.
there's been a lot worse.
Your channel or anything. I follow your channel. I follow other targets. There's a target from Georgia named Kevin. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. He's got his own YouTube channel called Targeted Individual. It's an older channel that he started back in like 2016.
He
And
got a lot of subscribers.
he calls he's got a lot of subscribers. He's not as vocal as he's not as frequent as he used to be as far as making his videos, but he talks a lot about he calls it broadcast torture, broadcast live streaming. He uses the word broadcast a lot, like every
Yeah.
video.
See, somebody commented under my video and said you need to look up life experiences.
Broadcast this, broadcast that, and remote neural monitoring. He uses that term daily when he does his videos. It's remote neural monitoring and broadcasting. He's from the Atlanta, Georgia area. Within the last year, he's been a lot of a nomad. He bounces around the country for his own reasons. Make videos along the way based on reaction to.
I'm gonna have to check him out. His name's Targeted Individual.
Targeted individual is the name of the channel. You might want to put targeted individual space Kevin. Targeted individual Kevin, it'll come up there. And his what do you call it? His profile like emoji or his tag photo for his channel. He kind of looks like the Unabomber, even though the guy's not a terrorist, he's a target, you know, and he's got thick sunglasses and wearing a ball cap, and it's called targeted.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll recognize it, you know, kind of looks like a young version of the Unabomber, even though he's not nowhere near that, you know, just when you see the guy with the glasses and the hat, this is targeted individual, that's the channel, right?
All right. Well, hold on. I'm gonna stop this recording.
It's got educational videos about just basically about the technology, what he's able to learn along the way, you know, and he focuses on a lot of coping mechanisms, work and education, getting ourselves financially stable, getting and holding a job, and educating ourselves for the long,
Right.
pretty much, and taking care of our health too. As far as, have you tried water bags for shielding?
Yes, water does work, but I used to sit with a gallon Ziploc bags covering my head.
Or even when you
It
sleep,
gets
try to get
annoying.
a hot bag and put it next to your head if you know what's coming from the window or a certain area. If you notice the beams coming in that way, the heating or whatever, or the static, try to put I don't do this myself. I've heard it works so.
Oh
And
yeah, I do it sometimes. It gets very annoying though with all them big water bags covering your face. But if you're getting burnt, hey, it works. It does work. You're right about that.
right, he
Very well.
using flashlights a lot. I've tried this a couple times. Whereas you feel you're getting a specific torture area to like a certain area of body, like he says, like his neck a lot. He'll put a flashlight on it, and it doesn't stop it, but it temporarily. He believes that the light temporarily breaks it up, so the pain will dissipate or dampen. While
Yeah,
it's
I had somebody send me four.
normal, it's like okay, now it's softer, but if I move the flashlight, it's going to come right back. So
Yeah, I had a TI send me four flashlights that go in flash mode. They flash like strobes.
okay, all
And
right.
I've used it some.
Okay. Some with the photons from the light breaks down the stream, so
Yeah.
I don't know the
Well, I'm
physics.
gonna stop the recording and then we can say our goodbyes. So
All
hold
right,
on. I really appreciate you coming out and hope we can catch up again. So I'm gonna stop recording right now.
all right.